Would you call the roll for the special session, a special work study session by the Moore City Council?
Danielle McKenzie.
Here.
Jason Blair.
Here.
Melissa Hunt.
Here.
Louis Williams.
Here.
Adam Webb.
Here.
Mark Ham.
Here.
Glenn Lewis.
Yes, here. Item number 2 is receive the comments from the Cleveland County Health Department regarding COVID-19 case numbers in Moore and the surrounding area.
Good evening. Okay, so for Moore, we have 430 positive cases total so far. We've had 9 deaths, and 356 of those have recovered. In Norman, we had to date 975 positive cases, 23 deaths, and 788 of those have recovered. Oh yes, I'm Jackie Knack. I'm the Regional Director for the Cleveland County Health Department. And for Oklahoma City, we've had 5,580 cases total, 72 deaths, and 4,316 recoveries. And I just want to note that 4 of those 9 deaths that are attributed to Moore were in long-term care facilities, 2 specifically. So 5 of them were just general population. And we have about a 6.2% positivity rate in the tests that we have done.
For the state or for Moore?
For the state.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am. Okay.
How do you guys determine where a person dies at when they're in a long-term nursing care facility like Grace, and you list them as Moore? How do you determine that?
Their permanent address.
Okay, so permanent address. Because 48 of those people that tested positive were living in a nursing home, from what I understand, of the 76.
Out of the 76.
However many we have now. 65. Okay.
Oh, that are in Grace. So if they were in a long-term care facility, even if they were in one outside of Moore, if their permanent address was Moore, then they are counted in the Moore deaths. Yes.
Okay. All right. So basically, we had no deaths because they're all outside of Moore.
If you're looking at the count just in those long-term care facilities, but we have had deaths that were unrelated to long-term care facilities.
We've had 5, isn't that what you said? 5?
Yes, exactly.
You guys have any questions? One of the things I wanted to say today, the reason we're here tonight, we're not voting on a COVID mask deal. That's not on the table. The reason we're here is we want to know about this disease and what we as a city council can do to slow the rise of it throughout the whole city. We don't want any of our constituents getting struck by this, and we want to know what we need to do. If they do get struck by it, where do they go? What can the health department do for us? Where do they get a test? That sort of stuff. Mm-hmm. So where do they get a test if they need a test?
So our Moore Health Department it is doing curbside testing every single day, Monday through Friday. We do between 90 and 100 tests a day, and you test by appointment. So you just call our health department, and then you can get a test that way. There are no requirements for the test, so you don't have to have symptoms. You don't have to be a contact. You can just you can just call and we'll schedule you. Right now, well, as of yesterday afternoon, we still had appointments available for Friday. And we do pop-up testing. So once in a while we'll do what we call pods, which is a point of dispensing, and we'll go to a facility or a location and do a big testing event as well. So we schedule those from time to time if the demand is there. Right now we're able to schedule within 48 hours for anybody that calls. So
what's your turnaround time as far as the test goes?
Mm-hmm. So we're using Emmy Labs in Cleveland County, and so we typically get the results within 24 hours, and then it takes us about 24 hours to collect, because we test several hundred within my district. So we find all of the positives out of those, and then they go to our state system, which is called FIDO. So our nurses are constantly entering those, And once they're in the system, they're assigned to a nurse, and that takes about another 24 hours. So turnaround time right now is sitting at right at 48 hours before you'll hear from
So you
us.
like the ME labs?
Yes,
Okay.
they are excellent. They're doing a great job.
We're in the process of, Brooks is negotiating a contract with them, I hope pretty quick here, to do testing throughout the city.
Oh, great.
So, one of the things we wanted to do is not only get the city tested, but we would like to start with the teachers and the students first, since school's coming up, and get that out of the way. So it'll take a lot of the burden off of the administration as well as the teachers and the students. You can send your kids to school and not worry about them. And that's one of the things we want to do, if we can do it. They have to get approved by the state in order to do that, but it looks pretty good right now. So we're hoping we can get that through. So I was glad to hear you say that. And this is just some of the information that we don't have, that we haven't had. I'm the mayor of the 7th largest city of Oklahoma, and you're the first person from the health department that's talked to me about COVID or anything, including the state. So we're glad you're here.
Yes, anytime.
So you guys got any questions?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay. Going on to item 3, we'll receive comments from the More Risk Management Department regarding legal liability.
Mayor and Council, I am here to make a few comments as to the possible legal implications in regarding to a mandatory mask ordinance. Before I get started, Chief Herbster came up and talked to me, and he wanted to have a handout in front of all of you. What that is, there is a breakdown of the Moore Fire Department emergency calls from March the 1st through July the 22nd. And what he is wanting to really emphasize, out of those calls that you see there, 1,179 calls over that period of time, 19 of those calls were confirmed COVID-19 calls, which comes out to a 1.6% rate of COVID calls. And he wanted to make sure that that was there in front of all of you as well before I got started. So I wanted to add that to you guys' handout.
Yeah, thank you.
Now, in order for me to really present a good idea of what other cities have done, what I have compiled, and this is also in front of you as well, is sort of like a top 10 list. And luckily for me, Moore was exactly number 10, which made it easy. What I did was, now her numbers were a little bit different than mine because hers was actually today's numbers, mine was yesterday's. So if you see where there's a little bit of difference, that's where that's coming from. The top 10 cities here, if you look at Oklahoma City and Tulsa, their total number of COVID cases from Oklahoma City is 5,388, Tulsa 4,671. And on that third column there, it says, is there a mask mandate for those? And I wrote down, yes, there is. Now back in statistics class, if you look at the total number of COVID cases, Oklahoma City, Tulsa, 5,000, 4,000, there's a big jump from second place to third place. I want to make sure I point that out. Edmond, who is in third place, is 1,043. So Oklahoma City, Tulsa, those might be considered outliers, but both of those do have the mask mandates and they have yes on that. And I do want to point out Tulsa does have a lawsuit that's been filed, and from what I understand, there is one in the works for Oklahoma City, but nothing filed as of yet. So let's take a look at Edmond. If you look at the next set, Edmond, Broken Arrow, Norman, and Guyman. I kind of put those four in a little batch together because if you look at that, all of those numbers are 1,043 down to 840. They're kind of all together. Out of those four, only one has a mask mandate, and that is Norman. Now, Edmond is going to be discussing that, I believe, sometime next week, but as of right now, they do not have a mandatory mask mandate. Then the next set, you have Jenks, Lawton, Stillwater, and then Moore. All of those are kind of considered together. They're at 484, down to what Moore has is 424, which is 430 today, but it's 424 as of yesterday. In all these numbers, I want to make sure that everybody knows that these numbers were as of yesterday, and I got them from the Oklahoma State Department of Health. What I did was, so those are the top 10 cities in regards to total number of COVID cases. I wanted to then take a step back and take a look at cities close to more geographically. Step aside from the total number of cases, let's take a look and see about cases close to us, cities close to us. Of course, Oklahoma City is there, Edmond is there, and Norman. But if you take a look at Bethany, El Reno, Mustang, Midwest City, and Yukon all do not currently have mandates at this time. I do want to point out, though, War Acres did just recently pass one, I believe it was earlier this week, right after Oklahoma City did, and I've not had a chance to look at War Acres yet, but from what I'm hearing, it is very close, if not identical, to Oklahoma City's. So that's what's going on with the surrounding cities. So really, we have War Acres, Oklahoma City, and those are the only ones that have the mask mandate. Other Oklahoma cities, Enid, Muskogee, Sapulpa, has all voted no. And what I wrote actually there was voted no. They actually had a meeting and actually voted against the mandatory masks. In regards to Sapulpa, I do want to point out, though, that Sapulpa does require masks to be worn in their courthouse, but they did not issue a citywide mandate there for Sapulpa. The biggest problem that I think that I have seen from reading these on the cities that voted no, it seems like they had enforcement issues. That was the biggest thing that they thought about. How are we going to enforce this? And I know that is something that Chief Gibson is going to be talking about, but I want to point out that what he is going to say is probably going to be the most important point of this evening. Without a effective enforcement, it's not going to be a mandate. And a point of fact is what Oklahoma County has done. They have mandated, I'm going to put down in quotation marks, they've mandated masks to the county buildings, but has stated no person shall be penalized for or questioned about wearing a mask or not wearing a mask. I don't know if that really is a mandate or not, but that is how they were able to have their Oklahoma County mask mandate. The cases that have passed a mask mandate and is being sued, when I looked at there, it looks like their problem was, again, enforcement issues. They kind of went above and beyond, I believe, what needed to be done to enforce something like this, if at all, which is, I think, what Oklahoma County has done. They kind of stepped away and said, look, we'll do the mandate, but we don't know how to enforce this. Outside the state, I looked very briefly at what's going on in other states because I know what's happening in Louisiana, Texas, that sort of thing. It's going to have an impact of what's going to be coming here. I was making a little tally, and there's so many lawsuits, I lost track of what number I was even at. But I do want to point out that just recently, I believe it was 2 days ago, Shreveport had a case where they were sued, and the judge actually ruled that the city did not have the authority to issue the mandate. Now, I will point out they also had a enforcement that was above and beyond. They were leaving enforcement to the businesses, and if the businesses refused to enforce their citywide mask mandate, that the city would be able to shut down the business or actually cut off utilities, that sort of thing. So they had other problems. So I think what I wrote down on here is legal pushback should be expected. I think that if we continue with the route, but there's going to be some type of a lawsuit. Is that a hurdle that is insurmountable? I'm going to say no. I think that if the council chooses to go this way, we would need to write an ordinance that is narrowly construed, something that has some type of an ability in order for the police or whoever to enforce this. It would have to be very narrowly construed, and I think that's where a lot of people have had problems. So what I would say is whatever the council decides to do, that we actually have thoughts about who, what, when, where, exceptions, that sort of thing, if we do decide to go ahead with a mask mandate. I'm going to go ahead and step aside now and let Chief Gibson go with his enforcement, but I'll be happy to answer any questions, but I think he is going to be able to talk a lot about the issues with enforcement.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Thank you. It's very helpful.
Are you ready for me, Mr. Mayor?
Yes, sir. Always.
Mayor, Council, thank you for giving me the time to come talk with you about the enforcement when it comes to this topic. I really appreciate this body taking the time, taking the steps to deeply consider these issues that are affecting our community. From personal experience, I know that, and I definitely understand that leading and making decisions during this time of COVID-19 is extremely difficult, and oftentimes the right decision is not always a clear one. We've never been through this before, and so from a leadership standpoint, I recognize and understand and sympathize with the challenge that you're that you're looking at. I wanted to start out by saying that law enforcement in general and the Moore Police Department works every day to build relationships and build trust and build legitimacy in our community. And we work hard to build partnerships with the people that we work for and the people that we serve on a daily basis. Currently, in Moore, we enjoy and we appreciate and we're thankful for a very strong, a very thriving relationship with our community and the people that we serve. When we examine the issue of enforcing a proclamation ordinance such as this, it can quickly become very complex. My recommendation for enforcement would work under a three-tiered approach. This would consist of education being the first option, going out and educating the public, working on a public awareness campaign, education. Second would be warnings, and the third would be an enforcement tier. Enforcement would always be a reluctant last resort, and this approach can be carried out in a variety of different ways. These three approaches can be carried out in a variety of different ways, similar to Oklahoma City. My suggestion, should this body accept my recommendation, would be to establish a dedicated notification phone line, separate and apart from the Police Communications Center. This would serve as a mechanism not to tie up critical emergency resources. I would also suggest that the city hire an additional civilian code enforcement officer to address public health concerns and calls for enforcement. Currently, the Communications Division is already a heavily taxed area of the police department, and at times there could only be 2 people on duty to take emergency calls, medical, fire, and police calls. And so a goal in establishing any plan moving forward would be to mitigate the strain on that particular resource so that we don't tie up emergency services. That is an overview of our approach from an enforcement standpoint. We would work hard to set the police department and set our community up in the best way and most advantageous way to serve the citizens. Again, I thank you for taking the time to listen to me, and I will address questions from the Honorable Mayor and Council.
Well, thank you very much, appreciate it. Like I said, since we're not taking a vote on it, and it doesn't look that it would be constitutional from an Oklahoma Constitution standpoint for us to do that, and it's against our charter, I don't think we're going to be taking a stand on that either way. So, I don't know, that'll be up to the rest of the council, but how do you think we should take, as a community, to, basically lower the risk for the citizens? I know when first responders go, you guys are usually on the scene with the fire department, not the fire department. When you show up, you've got to realize that these people may or may not be infected, so how do you protect yourselves and your officers?
Mr. Mayor, we have in law enforcement, as first responders, and Chief Herbster can attest, we've dealt with communicable diseases our entire career. COVID-19 has some particular nuances, but for first responders, when we talk about Hep C, we talk about Ebola, we talk about other issues that we've encountered, even the flu over the years, we've dealt with communicable disease in our career fields for some time. COVID-19 has absolutely caused us to raise our eyebrow, to use an analogy, a little bit more, and we take appropriate measures to help with social distancing. We take reports over the phone when we can. We encourage officers not to go inside houses unless they absolutely have to, and to conduct their business in open space. I personally do not mandate, but I absolutely was just at shift briefing today, encourage officers, if they're going into a business, if they're going into someone else's home, to wear a mask, not a N95 mask, but just a face covering of some sort, out of respect for the people that we serve, and if it offers protection to the officer, I'd appreciate that too.
So in your recommendation, the education piece and the warning piece, things like that, I mean, we could essentially implement that without a mandate and do it as a public service thing where we say, You know, if our officers are out, we have some, say, hey, it's a recommendation, but not an enforcement thing, where so those that choose not to wear it obviously don't have to wear it, but we work with your department to help educate the public.
Absolutely. Councilor Hunt, I feel like we have that relationship and we have that communication piece already in place with our community. We use the hashtag more strong, and that's really something that is more than just words. It is an actual ethos that our community thrives on. And so I think that if we as a governing body, you as a governing body, the police department partnering with the other department heads really went on a strong educational campaign, encouraging our community to work with us, making their own individual decisions, I think we would see natural compliance. That might be me being optimistic. I don't have scientific data to back that up, but I am optimistic for the power of the citizen here and more.
I agree with that.
And one of the things, since we've had so many tornadoes and adversity, most of the citizens, we find that you ask them to do something, they'll do anything for you. If you tell them to do something, they'll never do it. So, you can't make them. So,
Mr. Mayor, you're much more experienced on that than I am.
yeah, a whole lot of that. So, thank you, Chief. I appreciate it. Anybody else have any questions? Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Chief.
Okay. All right. Item right now is to receive comments from the risk manager. Oh, we already did that. Okay, sorry. Item number 5 is discuss and if deemed appropriate, consider directing staff to prepare an ordinance mandating the use of face mask in the city of Moore for consideration at the August 3rd, 2020 city council meeting.
Yeah, Mayor, before we do that, do we want to open it up to
I think
citizen
we
comments?
do. We got some people
Since we
signed
don't
up
have
there.
an agenda item. Thank you.
Rick Wheaton.
Do you want to get the details? You just need to state your name, your address, and we're going to limit comments to 5 minutes per person, no longer than.
Hello, I'm Rick Wheaton. I live at 2113 Northeast 8th Street, Moore, Oklahoma. I was going to come up here and say a lot of things, but between Melissa Hunt and the police chief and the lawyers and everybody, I think you guys have it covered. I believe that our citizens can protect themselves and their children. And again, like you said, Mayor, if you ask people to do things, they'll do it. If you tell them to, they're not going to do it. It's plain and simple. We have a choice in America. Whether we be in Moore or New York, it doesn't matter. It's our choice. So when you mandate people to do something, it's not going to happen. People are going to fight back. And looking at this room, looks like a lot of people in here agree. We don't need a mandate, and a lot of people don't agree with the mask. It's going to cause you more damage, CO2 breathing in. But if you feel you need to wear it, we're not stopping you. So, I mean, that's all I really have to say. You guys pretty much covered it.
Let me ask you, kind of the point of the meeting is to get information, but as well as to try to come up with solutions on how we could limit the virus here in town. How do we keep it from spreading so much? What do we need to do?
I agree with the police
as a
chief.
citizen group?
I agree with the chief of police. He said, you know, education. Education is going to be the main thing. You have to educate people, show them the science behind everything, and we can all social distance. We've all been doing that for months. We all wear a mask when we have to. If you think you're going into a crowded area, wear a mask. If you feel you need to. If you don't feel you need to, then you don't have to. But if you want to protect the public, you're going to wear a mask. So I appreciate all your time. Thank you.
I do agree with that, and I think we need to do a little bit better job communicating, you know, getting the numbers out.
I think so too.
Yeah, I think, so thank you, Rick, appreciate that.
And I don't know if I had this name right, Tony LaPresti?
You got it.
Okay. Well, I don't see all that well sometimes.
You can't butcher it any more than it has been in the past.
Okay.
Mayor and council members, thank you for letting us speak. I would like to speak on the effectiveness of masks. There's no doubt COVID-19 has scared a lot of people, and I understand, appreciate the fear. But we need to look at the effectiveness of the face masks with the city of Moore and address how to combat the virus. One of the things I keep hearing is look at the science. There's not a lot of science that's not wrapped up in politics. One of the things I did find was the New England Journal of Medicine, which is one of the most premier medical journals in the world, and is a summation of the May 21st, 2020 article, which also include the opinion of Dr. Anthony Fauci. Masks outside of the healthcare facilities offer little, if any, protection. The chance of catching COVID-19 from a passing interaction in a public space is therefore minimal. The desire for widespread masking is a reflexive action to anxiety over the pandemic. I do have a copy of the article if you would like to see it. If someone would like to wear a mask, I am all for it. I have no problem with them. But I have a background in microbiology, so I have to look at the science of it. The weaves on most masks are around 3 microns. The virus we're trying to stop is 1/10 of a micron. Even the N95 mask is 3/10 of a micron. Stopping a 1/10 micron with a mask that is 3 microns wide is akin to walking into a sandstorm, putting a tennis racket in front of your face and trying to stop the sand. The next thing that is said is that it stops vapors. That's true. If a sick person who has it is coughing into the mask will stop any vapors that do not escape from the sides, top, or bottom of the mask. Anything escaping from the top, sides, or bottom will quickly dry out and aerosolize. The next person coming in will then meet a 1/10 of a micron virus with a 3 micron mask. That virus is going into their respiratory system. The other things I look at is Oklahoma City. They passed masks, they had protests. We don't need that here. Norman to our south did the same thing. You guys are between a rock and a hard place. No matter what you decide, it's going to be the wrong thing. But the city government, most of you have been here since I have lived here, have really taken care of city business quite well, and I would like to see you continue to do that. As far as addressing how to stop the virus, the big education is wash hands, don't touch your face. This is the biggest way to transmit the virus. If it is existing on fomite, you touch a fomite, you touch your eye, you're inoculated. Wash hands 4 or 5 times a day. You reduce the chances of inoculating yourself with the virus. Educate not to touch your face. If masks actually do something, it is remind people not to touch your face. In conclusion, I would encourage you to look very hard at allowing mask choice and not following Oklahoma City and Norman in just mandating it. Again, as Mayor, you said, request it, you will probably get a lot of compliance, demand it, and there will be a rebellion. If there's any questions I can answer, I would be happy to do so if I can. Oh, sure. My name is Tony Lopresti. My address is 832 Northwest 16th Street here in Moore.
Thanks.
Thank you very much.
Sorry.
What's that?
I said I had it right here on the sign-up sheet in front of you. I just didn't tell her.
Oh.
I didn't explain to you that you need to state that. But appreciate
Yeah,
it.
I should have noticed it with the other one. I'm sorry, a little excited.
Yes, sir. I can honestly say this is new to all of us. I mean, we've never experienced anything like this before. So,
Well, it is. I just wanted to speak. As I said, I am not a medical professional, but I do have a microbiology background. And masks that even they use in surgery and stuff like that is to keep droplets out of surgical and to protect the surgeon from any blood that may splash. None of them are designed for a virus. Even an N95, I use those when I do some woodworking. Breathing through them is a chore, and they're still only, at best, 95% effective.
okay.
we're dealing with a really little monster. So, thank you.
very much, appreciate it. Okay, Christy Chase, or Case, excuse me.
Thank you for the opportunity to speak. My name is Christy Kaus, 813 Carol Ann Place. I'm
Sorry,
new to
I messed up your
Oklahoma. I'm sorry?
I messed up your name, sorry.
That's okay. I'm new to Oklahoma. I moved here right before COVID, so it's been really fun. Getting down to it. What we know about COVID is you can't stop the virus. So when we first started this all, they wanted to slow it down so that the hospitals wouldn't get overwhelmed. They did that. We can't stop the virus. It's just going to keep coming. The virus mutates, which from what I understand is normal, and so a vaccine isn't going to be the answer if it's mutating. Not everybody's going to get the virus. There's a 0.2%, death rate for those who get the virus. Some will argue 0.4%. So even if we go with the higher number, that means 99.6% of the people who even contract the virus will survive. It's very unlikely that asymptomatic people are spreading the virus per the provided study in the folders. I got you guys the science. The WHO posted on June 5th, there's limited medical evidence that wearing a medical mask by healthy individuals and households, in particular those who share a house or among attendees of mass gatherings, may be beneficial as a measure preventing transmission. At present, there is no direct evidence on the effectiveness of universal masking of healthy people in the community to prevent infection with respiratory viruses, including COVID-19. In the folder that I have for you, I also included a fantastic study for your review. The study is on pandemic flu in regards to environmental hygiene and masks in non-healthcare settings. For face masks, they did a systemic review from 1946 to 2018 of all published literature. There was no significant reduction of transmission of the flu with the use of face masks. And I'll quote, "We did not find evidence that surgical type masks are effective in reducing laboratory confirmed influenza transmission, either when worn by infected persons or by persons in the general community to reduce their susceptibility." If that is for surgical type masks, how can anyone even fathom that their cloth face covering is going to protect them? So I have that study in there for you regarding the cloth masks and when people use them or overuse them or touch them or whatever, it's just not going to be effective. I feel sorry for you guys with the decisions you have to make regarding this. I know that it's hard and it's very passionate. I'm from Chicago, and this is very calm compared to some of the things going on there. But also, if you guys do pass this, would it not put you at risk for lawsuits for people that are being forced to wear these masks and they get a respiratory infection because there was a mandate passed and it makes you more susceptible? I mean, kids going to school that are going to have to wear their masks for 7 hours a day when they're touching their face and touching everything around them. I mean, are they going to have problems because of that? And will that be a liability for you guys in passing a mandate? Also, I'm from a family that has a lot of first responders in it. My nephew is a paramedic in the Chicago area. He's been thrown up on by COVID patients and then put on quarantine. He never got the virus. He's telling me that there's people in houses where somebody has the virus and nobody else in the house gets it. So it's about our immune systems and what we're doing. We need to educate people. They need to get their vitamin D levels up. Zinc is a good thing to take. We need to let them know that there's supplements that can support their immune system. So if they do get this virus, it's not going to be devastating to them. So, yeah, you guys have a really hard decision, and I do appreciate that you guys are taking the time to talk and listen. Do you want me to hand off the folders to somebody to distribute? Okay.
We'll just pass them.
Yeah, or somebody, just stay in there.
I also, I'm concerned about law enforcement too, because I'm very pro-police. My dad was a cop. And law enforcement has taken a hit lately. And I think that putting them in a position to be able to enforce something that, from the looks of it, nobody wants, is going to set them in a darker light as well. And I'd hate to see anything more happen to them. I mean, they're good guys, and it looks like, you know,
We
the people.
appreciate that. We're not gonna put our officers in danger either.
Yeah, so I'm concerned about that too. So, but again, please look over the science that I gave you guys and take that into consideration as well.
Okay, do you have any idea how it would be best for the community as a whole to reduce COVID in the community? Or the school system, even, either one?
I think educating people to start taking supplements and washing their hands and stuff is going to be helpful. But there's really, it's going to run its course. Is from what I see, and I don't know how much we can really do about that. But I do think that it might take liability away from you guys and businesses. Instead of posting, or instead of mandating something, if businesses can post, you know what, there's a pandemic, if you can wear masks, please do, which I personally don't support. I don't think they're healthy, but enter at your own risk. You know, if they're entering establishments to eat or to shop or whatever, they need to protect themselves. They need to stand up and take their health into their own hands and be responsible for their own health. So if they are not out there, if they're sick and they're at high risk and they have autoimmune disorders, use the online pickup service for Walmart. Don't go shopping, you know? The rest of the world shouldn't have to do that because you are having issues, and I'm very sympathetic to those issues too. I have family members with them. But we need to take responsibility for our own health, and they can do those things, and I think life should just go on right now.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Barry Williams.
Barry Williams, 1061 Northwest 6th Street, and I am a COVID-19 survivor. I actually had it back in November before COVID-19 was actually out. I was tested at OU Medical Center, and they didn't know what I had. No flu, no bronchitis, no anything. So I know what it's like to go through part of it. It's like countless people have said before me, wearing a mask is not going to stop anything. I had 6 other people in the house with me and nobody else got it. I don't know if it was just from the grace of God or what, but right now we have businesses, a lot of major businesses right now that are requiring masks before you enter. CVS, Walgreens, Walmart, Best Buy. So if you do want to do your shopping, you're going to have to put on a mask to go in there. I think we're taking care of the problem right now. The businesses are saying, hey, if you want to come in our store, you got to wear a mask. If you don't want to come in the store, you don't have to. The rest of it's pretty much outside. The smaller stores you're going to hurt because right now they're only allowing 2 or 3, 4 or 5 people depending on the size of their business. So are the masks working? Probably not. Are we doing what we need to do and the businesses doing what they need to do? Yeah, I think they are. So I think we're on the right direction. I do appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it. All right. We have one more person signed up here. Tom Long. I forgot. There's a logo on this side. We're close. Okay. It's Tom, right?
It is Tom.
Okay.
Tom, right?
Come on down.
Hi, I'm Tom Loya. I live at 8500 Independence Avenue in Oklahoma City. I'm a border dweller. I do a lot of shopping, and now with Oklahoma's mandate, I do all my shopping and more, and I want it to remain that way, and that's why I'm here. So before I begin, I kind of want to put COVID into perspective. I think the real problem is fear, people's fear of COVID. Every year when you guys go and get that flu jab, that has a 0.6% mortality rate, okay? COVID has, I believe it's 0.26 is the current latest update from the CDC. That means you're 3 times more likely to die from that flu jab as a random American than from COVID. You're actually more likely to die from just living your life as an American, right? I think it's 80 is the average age of death from COVID, and 75 is the average age of death just from being an American. So anyway, the true real problem about masks here is that it's not about COVID. It's not about influenza. It's not about rotavirus, coronavirus. It's not about any of that at all. It's about, can you take a mask? Can you take a respirator? Can you put that into a randomized controlled trial? Then can you, after that trial is over, show me a confirmed study that wearing that mask prevented some sort of airborne pathogen from being spread? The answer is no. There is no science, there is no peer-reviewed published study with a randomized controlled trial and a confirmed outcome that shows a mask is effective, or a respirator, or an N95 respirator is effective for stopping the spread of any airborne pathogen, cold, influenza, rotavirus, that's the cold, other forms of coronavirus, right, that we have. So that's what we know now, that's what the science says. The 2 studies you're going to see, they were both from this year, the study from Washington, all that does is say what size of a mask do you need for a particle of COVID to be blocked. So that's like saying, hey, I got a muffler that's going to make your car go 100 miles per gallon, but I've never once fitted on a car to show that it can do that. That's what that Washington study says. So we'll discount that one. Right now we have the Hong Kong study. They had to eliminate every variable in that study besides masks. They eliminated social distancing. They eliminated people just staying at home and not going out. They eliminated humidity. They eliminated temperature. And after all of that was eliminated, they found masks were effective. Well, guess what? Everybody who worked on that study, they've retracted all of the work they've done. But of course, you know, the doctor who headed that study is linked by so many health departments in so many nations across the world. They can't pull that study down, right? So that's all the opposition has, right? So my argument is there is no science. The opponent's argument is we have flawed science. And I think that's as far as you need to go. You know, it's just look at what is proven effective, look at the numbers, and then proceed slowly rather than ham-handedly, and just say, it's a mandate, just do it.
Okay.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Do you put your hat in your pocket? That's something I would do.
Yeah. We don't have anybody else signed up. Would anyone like to speak? Yes, sir. Come on up and state your name for the record, please. If you would, name and address for the record.
Jacob Brown, 1009 Northwest 12th Street, Moore. I've lived in Moore, well, since the day I got married 23 years ago. Me and my wife lived in the same house, little house there. 2 kids. I believe that there's an American way, an Oklahoma way, and a Moore way to do stuff, and I don't think mandates is the way to go about this. As you can see, I work for the city of Oklahoma City. They got the mandate there. We're doing it at work. And for the last, being a government worker, you're essential, unconstitutionally, but you're essential. Been showing up for work for the last, since this whole thing started, every day. All of us, there's 30 so of us in that building, and there ain't been a problem one. Now all of a sudden we're wearing these masks, and it's absolutely irritating. You can't breathe, fogging up your glasses. It's hot outside. All this stuff. brings on fear. There's just, the whole atmosphere of the place has changed. There's just, you sense the fear. And it's messed with you mentally, everybody, it looks like to me, in my experience. One thing that I have been doing is every day I take some zinc, been getting some sun, some vitamin D, eating grapefruit and oranges and stuff and whole foods, trying to get plenty of sleep, drink plenty of water, just all that normal stuff that we can do. As I was sitting back there, I was thinking, the city of Moore sometimes sends out them papers for different things. Why couldn't we send out something with vitamins and such, or just little things out there for how to boost your immune system through, through the zinc and the vitamin D and that type of thing. I realize there's probably going to be some sort of liability, something that would mess with that, I don't know, but I think it would probably be a good idea to promote things. There's promote articles or whatever with stuff that boosts your immune system. My mother-in-law and my sister-in-law both had it. Mother-in-law was 75, her boyfriend was 85, they both made it through. My sister-in-law had it. We didn't get it, we got tested or whatever. I understand there's a sickness out there, but doing a mandate on a mask is just un-American and un-Oklahoman and more. And, been through a lot of tornadoes here. We all have, those that lived around here. It mess with us one way or another, whether it's work or our houses. We're tough people. You got to be a little bit tough and a little bit crazy living more, like we had 20-something years. So I do not believe a mask mandate is the way to go.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, last one. Anybody else?
A couple of
There's
years.
three more.
We got three more.
Yeah, there's-
Well, pick one.
Ladies
Ladies
first.
first.
Ladies first.
I'm sorry, I thought you were pointing.
We all were.
Yeah, we were.
I want to go by Ray. I live here. I will write my name down and my address. I just don't want to say it where somebody could record me and come to my home. It's too charged right now for that. I am a business owner here for 20 years. I am a resident for over 40 years here. And I want to tell you about my experience during this for just a second. When I would go to the clinic before this started, if I had the flu or a fever, they would look at me and they would say, put a mask on. They didn't tell the person with me that had lived with me or been around me or the people I'd worked with or been around while I was still contagious. They put it on the sick person. And that was for me to stay contained as much as possible. And so now I'm a healthy person that they're trying to contain, and it's actually not doing well for me. I have never had a constant since before this. And when this started, this is what I've had issues with. I'm never sick. I have not had the flu. I'm touching people all the time. I've never even had the flu. It's kind of like a nurse, after a while you're around them, you build up your immunities. But I went to a dental clinic. I had to get there early to get a COVID test. Well, because I had to get there early and then wait for this COVID test, they didn't take me in and they didn't quarantine me somewhere until my test came negative or positive. What they did is they just said, well, just wait around and then we'll call you whenever, and then you can come into the building. Well, I had to go to the restroom, I had to go to the restroom, so I had to put a mask on and go down to the corner grocery store and use the restroom, which nullified my COVID test before I ever got the results, because I was around people that had not been tested. Some were wearing masks, some weren't wearing masks. And then when I went into the clinic, I got my negative test, and when I went into the clinic, I asked the girl that was working there, and they were dressed up like they were going to a nuclear facility, which I felt for those people. And what happened is I said, do you have to take that horrible test every day when you come in? And she said, no, we don't have to do that. I've taken a couple of the swabs, and I've done the blood work in the beginning, but I don't have to do that every day. And so to me, that made absolutely no sense whatsoever for all of us that were coming in and having to do that, but they were coming in the back door, and then they were coming in, being around their families all week long, doing their things all week long. The world is not a contained situation like a hospital or a doctor's room or a clinic. It's not a contained situation. We have had viruses that come and go from people that are immune compromised or that it's asymptomatics that spread them. That's how they spread. That's how we get immunities to these things. And all I'm saying is I am against the mandate. I definitely am against fining people, especially at this time. It's a horrible time. People are barely recovering, and why would you want to fine them or shut a business down when they are just recovering? And that's all I have to say, and I appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Ray, if you want, would you tell Vanessa Kim, maybe your address is quietly
There
over
we
here?
go, two more.
Okay.
Can we take two
Two more.
more? So we've got,
Come on up.
okay. So you'll be next, yeah.
I didn't see more.
Oh, that's all right, he's hiding in the shadows.
If you would state your name and address for the record, please.
Dr. Bill Sparks, 3500 South Telephone Road. Just wanted to, had a couple questions. I always like to go to why instead of just assuming, you know, when people start saying mask or no mask. I'm really proud of my more people tonight. Everybody had research, so much common sense, made me really happy. I miss seeing people smile and more because their faces are all covered up. That's one of the greatest things about more. But just a compliment, I love that. I did have a question for the health department on our testing. Does anybody look at efficacy on the testing? How many false positives? Are we doing antibody testing? Is that antibody testing how we're counting? Because is the antibody testing specific for COVID-19 or is it only a COVID virus? I think there's a lot of things that you need to look at before you say we really have 5. Maybe we do, but if you haven't looked at how that test is performing, you may have 50, you may have none, but if you just take those numbers at face value, that's just not a good way to take care of patients. So I always say, look at those first before you guys start deciding this other stuff, because none of it may make any difference if your numbers are wrong. Garbage in, garbage out. Anyway, thank you guys for doing this, thinking through it, and I love it that our more people are intelligent and they're doing research and taking care of themselves. So thank you all.
Is there anything that you would do to lower the risk or whatever in this community?
Well, looking and realizing that the risk is not as bad as the news says, doing that, but we heard a couple of people say, raise your immune system. We know that comorbidities make it worse, so if you need to exercise, let's promote exercise. Let's promote not smoking. Let's promote eating a healthy diet. Getting good sleep. All of those things make our community way less susceptible. Or if they do get it, they get a light case, and now we get herd immunity. It's really that basic stuff of taking care of the flu.
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
So I opened myself up for feedback this week, and boy, did I get it.
There's
and
a
within
lot of it
about
out there.
48 hours, I had emails from 3 doctors that they weren't doctor@yahoo.com. I always said that they were, my name's doctor at, this is my doctor's office, and here's where I practice. So very legitimate emails.
Oh, absolutely.
And the last one that I got was from someone that I know very well personally. So I picked up the phone and called her, and she gave me some details about why she thought the mandate was incorrect. And not just what you've probably heard here, that the cloth was not as effective as, you know, an N95 and that type of thing, but about herd immunity. And I work for the government, that's my real job, so this is outside my swim lane completely, and I don't know that I know the right answer. But can you talk a little bit about that, like why we see the cases maybe staying stable or even going up, but we're seeing the deaths so low, and how that builds herd immunity in our community?
With what I have read on it, I think the testing has improved, but the more people that catch it, and we're finding out that we've had a lot of people that had it, never even knew it, but when you start having a population that is immune to it because they've received it, they have T-cell immunity, not just antibody, when they have it, they can no longer transfer it. And so when you start having enough of that happen, those people that are in danger, those senior citizens and people with comorbidities, the virus isn't there anymore. But if we take all these people, the healthy people that can survive it, the under 65 it's almost nil for the problem's there. If those people all catch it, all get over it, guess what? It's gone.
I have a question then. So why is more younger people getting it?
I'm sorry, ma'am.
You gotta wait till
Yeah, yeah, and it's, I'm not an expert on it, but when you catch it younger, it's kind of like, if you catch measles when you're a kid, it doesn't hurt you near as bad as it does when you're 35. So it's, they're a younger population, they're stronger. They may catch it and never know they had it. But I really think if we would promote the health side of things, that would take care of everything. It's not going away. Once the genie's out of the bottle, it's not going back. But my biggest thing, we can look at all the health stuff, and I wrote a letter to Mr. Blair and Mr. Lewis. For me, it really came down to liberty and freedom in the United States. Because I thought it was coming about a mandate. Found out you guys weren't doing that. I'm happy. But it really is. Anytime you're going to take a freedom or a liberty from the United States, it's got to be serious. Because you're taking it from everybody, not just from the side that wants it or doesn't want it. And so that's something that I think it overrides everything else. Is we've got to have our personal choice doing that. Other questions?
Dr. Sparks, would you mind sharing with us the type of precautions that you take in your practice?
We still continue to clean like we always did. We clean between patients. We clean our hands. I bet I clean my hands at least 100 times a day. If anybody is symptomatic, they're not in the office. If I have a sore throat or a cough, is that yours?
I think that's for the 5 minutes.
I'm sorry. Like we'd heard earlier, it's the touching of the face. It's, getting your hands, touching the fomite, getting it in your mouth, getting it in your eyes.
Sure.
I think that's the
So do
biggest
all of
issue.
your employees wear masks?
No, we don't.
No, okay.
No, if we have anybody that's symptomatic, they don't come to the office.
Okay.
And I do that anyway. If you're coughing, I don't want you in my office. If you had a sore throat last night or your son's sick, I don't want to expose you to my patients.
Sure.
But so far, we hadn't had any issues with it, and everybody's happy.
Cool.
Thank you very much for
Thank
speaking.
you, sir.
Thank you.
Who's next? Yeah, Mayor, yeah.
My name is Dr. Tyler Pertry. Actually know Dr. Sparks pretty well. I live at 3216 North Old Bridge Road in Moore. Again, guys, I know you got a big decision. I'm sorry, guys. This sucks. If you make it one way, I'll be pissed at you. If you make another way, somebody else is going to be pissed at you.
All you have to remember is we provide your water and
I know,
garbage.
so I just actually gave somebody I don't like's address just in case.
So just so you remember.
Yeah, I know, trust me. Things that irritate, science and medicine should never be politicized. It's silly. We all count on science and medicine to just be science and medicine. And unfortunately now it's not, and it's so stupid. But the science on masks has been under hot debate. Anytime something in the medical community is under hot debate, it means we don't know. Doctors hate saying we don't know. Hate it. Patient asks me something, I want to have an answer for him. We hate saying I don't know. We feel like a failure as a doctor. But when you have a virologist that's Harvard trained saying one thing, you have a virologist that's Yale trained saying another thing, it means we don't know. That's what it means. So, unfortunately, people pick their scientists to make their point. And then the other group picks their scientists to make their point. We just end up fighting about everything. Instead of them saying we don't know. Well, honest to God, we don't know the answer to this. We don't. Nobody does. The science that is fairly conclusive is unless you're wearing an N95 respirator mask, this isn't going to prevent the virus from getting me if I'm wearing it. And that, they kind of get the mask, pro-mask, that, man, please everybody wear a mask. They gave up that fight. They said, okay, this isn't really going to protect me much, but God, do it for the people. Like, do it for, Mark, I don't want you to get sick. I'm going to wear this for you, buddy. The issue is that it's not a neutral decision for me to wear a mask or not wear a mask, but they're treating it as if. There are people that the mask is bad for their health. It's not healthy for them. It affects their breathing. It affects, there's anxiety, that people who have trauma or abuse in their life, having something around your face, no. Like, they will relive trauma and abuse. Like, it's crazy. So, I mean, it's just not a neutral decision. The N95 masks, which have shown some efficacy for helping me not be sick. So if I'm a doctor, I'm going in and I know Mark, I know Jason has a disease, it's going to give you my best shot. It is. But for me to wear that, I have to shave my face, which I kind of like my beard, and I have to have it fitted. I might have 5 or 6 masks before I find the one that works for me. And then I got to be crazy anal about not screwing that up with my hands or what I touch. Nobody's doing that. Let's just be honest. No normal person, even doctors, screw this up. Normal people are going to screw it up the second they put on the mask. The other thing is, if I have that N95 mask on, guess who it doesn't protect? It doesn't protect Mark. The stuff I breathe out of that mask with the filter is 100% unfiltered air. It's as if I did not have a mask on as far as he's concerned. So if you mandated it and I'm wearing that, I'm just as infective as I didn't have a mask on. So it doesn't fix it. The other thing is that the worst thing is, I work in Oklahoma City, so we mandated masks. Yay. I wear a mask now every day. I cannot tell you how many times I have to touch my face to move my mask. That is literally reinfecting my hands every single time I do it. And so unless and again, that could be 1,000 times a day, I'm not joking. I'm reinfecting my hands, so unless I'm actively hand sanitizing 1,000 times a day, I'm hand sanitizing, I'm infecting everything I touch. It doesn't work. In fact, it actually makes me worse to people. It makes me worse. It makes me more infected. Even worse is it creates a very moist and damp environment in front of my face, right where I'm breathing in. Well, guess what? Viruses and bacteria love moist, damp environments. It creates something that wouldn't have normally been a hazard for me as a hazard for me now. And it creates a potential where I get sick where I wouldn't have gotten sick. I hope we all realize nobody's immune to this. It's new. We will all likely get this. Like, we all get that, right? Like, if you think this is your savior, I'm so sorry. It's not. We're all catching this. Boost your immune system. Stop eating crappy food. Do something well so that when you catch it, because you will catch it, you're not going to die. That's what we need to do. The other thing, sorry, I don't know how much time I have left.
Oh, you'll know.
Okay, sorry. Yeah. Do I need to like present myself when it goes off? But the other thing, like they talk about, pick up your new skill during COVID. That was a big thing on Facebook. I started doing videography and video editing. And they talk about framing. And you want to frame your shot to show what you want people to see who are looking at it. Well, guys, the mask debate has been framed as mandatory versus voluntary masks. That's not the argument. Don't be fooled. The frame is mandatory versus banned. That's the argument. We could just as easily mandate you can't wear a mask. Voluntary mask wearing is the middle ground. You're already there. And it's the most American decision there is. If you told me I was going to go out and, by God, the science shows this will absolutely let me not catch that virus, guys, I'm wearing the mask. If you told me in 3 weeks if everybody wore this, we know, science says it will work. Everybody, unless you're just a butthead, everyone's wearing these. But that's not what science says. How to fix it? You've asked this question many times. Make sure people understand this actually makes me touch my face more. I need to be more aware of how I'm washing my hands. More aware of how I'm touching my phone, because guess what? That's going right up next to. I have to be more aware of it when I have a mask, because I'm not thinking about when I rub my eyes, because I just had my glasses fogged, and I'm like, guys, the virus enters through the eyes. We need to boost. Please, people don't understand what health is. If you're drinking Diet Coke and eating McDonald's and you don't take any vitamins, the virus is looking for you. Like seriously, like you're its prey. Like understand vitamin C, vitamin D, get outside, get some exercise, put down the Diet Coke. Like that's how you begin to fight this. The other thing is herd immunity. Guys, herd immunity is achieved between 70 and 80% of people are immune. Well, right now the vaccine is a year out. A year. That's what they say. An effective vaccine is a year out. Are we quarantining for a year? Holy crap, we will all be out of business. The only way to get this done now is for the people like me, 41 years old, I have no comorbidities, I need to catch this stupid virus.
You're past your time.
Sorry. Good.
Thank you.
Any questions? Or good answer. All right, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for not like.
You had a question right here?
No, you already listened to me. I'm all for masks and.
Come on.
Yeah, you just come up here and say your name and your address.
Just say your name and address.
Yeah, I don't know. Kathy Hassenbeck, 233 Northwest First. Y'all know me about my pond in front and all of that. I'm all for masks. I'm sorry, I have in-laws. My ex-in-laws are compromised. I don't want to keep my son every single day just because he can't go down there because other people don't wear masks. I don't get out. I have worked from home since March. I don't get out because I protect my family. I protect the people that need it. It's simple. Yes, everybody thinks it's just, oh, it's no big deal, da-da-da-da-da. It is a big deal. Look at California. Is that a big deal? I think it's a big deal. Do we want Oklahoma to be like California? Do we want Oklahoma to be like New York? It will come because people from there will come here just to get away. Norman comes up here. It is important. I mean, is it comfortable? No. Do I do it? Yes, I do. And I do it religiously. I go to the lake every weekend just to get away. Just so I can have my time. And if people need that, they need to go do that. Because I know I'm working 50 hours a week from home. But I'm not complaining because I'm protecting my family. This is what it's about. It's protecting others. It's not. That's what everybody doesn't realize. It's protecting us because when you have a family member that dies, you're gonna know what it really means. And that's when it's really gonna hit home. And that's what everybody doesn't realize. When you have a family member or a friend that dies from this disease, that's when it hits home. And you'll know that. So, I'm done.
Thank you very much.
Oh, go ahead.
Your drink.
Your drink.
I'm gonna throw it away anyway. Let's see what that matters.
If you would state your name for
Sure.
the record.
My name's Stephanie Christie. My address is 1025 Northeast 20th Street in Moore.
Thank you.
I just, first of all, want to point out, this thing to me is based on fear, not faith. As you can see, the gentleman that spoke before the lady that just came up, I counted 6 times she touched her mask when she was standing up here talking.
I didn't touch the inside of it.
Again, touched the mask. But the problem, I think, is that people don't really see this more as like communism. She compared us to California, which is a democratic state. Socialism, communism, that's what they're pushing for. As a matter of fact, my son, who goes to Central Junior High, now has to do online schooling because he's an athlete. He wants to do sports. They will not let him do sports unless he comes to school half a day. Sorry, I'm nervous, I'm shaking.
You're fine.
It's all right.
Is that about his health? Is that really about his health? Come to school, let us mask you so you can play sports. Do online schooling, you can't play sports. Makes no sense. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Anybody else? One last one. Go ahead. If you would state your name and address for the record, please.
Kyle Dellinger, 2113 Fox Avenue.
Thank you.
Myself professionally, I'm a professional commercial pilot, and a lot of the security measures that have been taken in aviation are very fear-based, as this is. that the security measures that the TSA puts in place are nothing more than glorified security theater. As other people have previously said, the law enforcement in this country is already getting a rough shake, and trying to place them where they would have to enforce the policies that the city council votes on is not going to go well. And one other thing I wanted to address was the lady from the county health department. We heard people talking about the total number of cases, but what is the current caseload that we have?
65 cases.
Yeah.
We got it this morning, I think it's 65.
65 cases.
65 active cases.
Yes, sir.
In more.
Yes, sir.
Okay. I just didn't hear that earlier.
But 48 of those don't live in Moore. So,
Right. They're,
whatever that means. Just saying.
all right, thank you, that's all.
Okay,
Appreciate
thank
it.
you. All right. I think that's it. I appreciate everybody coming. I appreciate all your opinions. And like I said, it's been a crazy day. I've had over 523 emails. And I haven't had a chance to answer. Of course, you can't answer that many in a day anyway. And I appreciate that. It's about 50-50. 50 people want a mandate, 50 people don't. But as I said earlier, we are not going to mandate it because, one, it's unconstitutional, the Oklahoma Constitution. I've been told that. Plus, it's not in our charter, so we're not able to do that anyway. So at this time...
Mayor, can I also say, we're not going to mandate it, but a lot of the businesses have required it. And so we would just ask that you be respectful of the businesses that have required it or choose to shop elsewhere, because they, as Americans, obviously have the right to require that too. And so I'm not in favor of a mandate, but I am in favor of businesses being able to make that choice.
Yeah, I was going to say you have Crest that now their employees are mandated to wear the mask, but you are not. It's recommended. And everybody else is basically having a mask before you can enter the store and shop. GFF Foods is having their employees, it's supposed to come out tomorrow, I think it's a different name now, and they're going to have a mask mandate, I was told. I don't know if that's going to be continually true or not. But anyway, most people, there's about 90% of the businesses that are requiring masks now, so it doesn't seem to be that we as a government body need to do that. It goes back to this thing I said, if you ask people to do it, they'll do anything for you, but if you tell them, they'll never do it. So then that's where we're at now. So I appreciate everybody helping out on this. As Dr. Fauci he said a couple of times, wash your damn hands. And, stay aware of your situation around you. Don't gather up in big crowds. Social distancing, I always tell people 7 feet because you can't measure 6. And that way you're just always there in the right spot. And I appreciate so much everybody coming in and helping out on this. Like I said, we were at a point, basically, we're getting inundated, like, we'll do something, don't do anything. So I think having this meeting helped a lot. It's the first time we got information from the health department, which was great. And I think now we need to concentrate on education, washing our hands, taking care of each other more than anything else. So.
Good.
And being respectful of everybody,
Yeah.
regardless of choice.
Sounds like some minds have been changed, so that's a good
Does
thing.
anything you want to add?
I'd make a motion, we adjourn.
Okay.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Would you call for the vote, please?
Yes.
Jason?
Yes.
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 Yes. Thank you so much for coming.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you for coming. Thank you.
Thank you for being so simple.